Hello everybody, this is Bounty of Anime, and welcome to my comparison/review of the M4 iPad Pro with the 2018 iPad Pro 11-inch first gen. Now, I think a lot of people still have this 2018 iPad Pro or the 2020 version because this was really when they gave us a big redesign with the full screen design and also ditching the home button. And even now, 5-6-ish years after this is released, it still looks really good, and it is still a really good product. I think it's really one of Apple's best products in recent years, and I mean, the design holds up. The silhouette is pretty much the same from the front. The bezels haven't changed for the new ones, and the performance-wise, it still rocks if you're not doing anything very intensive. Media consumption, even some productivity, this still works like a champ. So why did I upgrade to this one? Well, first of all, I had a bit of a problem with my USB-C port. It's no longer really charging, and sometimes I have to turn it off for like a couple of days and then it'll start charging, and it only works on my MacBook charger with the original cable for some reason. I mean, I could get it fixed, and I probably will get it fixed so that I can pass it over to someone else, but that really did push me to grab a new one. But there are other reasons, and I think this year might be compelling enough for some people, depending on your needs and what you like, to upgrade to the M4. So let's look into it. So performance-wise, I think it is technically a huge jump to the M4 from the A12X, but it's not drastic in all aspects and overall usability. So because of that, I'm not going to show you any Geekbench or 3D Mark or gaming benchmarks, and there's a ton of reviews with those numbers, but I'm going to more talk about some use cases I have in particular that shows the difference, but also sometimes don't. So in overall usability, they're both really fine. I do think apps launch a little faster, and because of the extra RAM, so I have this one is a 64 gig base model of the 2018, which only has 4 gigs of RAM. So this is the base 256 with 8 gigs of RAM and the 1 binned core on the M4. But apps do launch faster, and I think more apps stay in memory. Now, I'm not saying you can't multitask or apps really close really quickly on this one. If you're running it at one time, you can still have multiple apps open. Stage Manager kind of works. But what I think I see more often is if I turn this into sleep mode, in the background it seems to more aggressively close apps. So I come back an hour or two later, okay, those apps need to reload. It happens less with the M4 for sure. Another thing is external display support, which again, every M-chip iPad has, but I think it's great to have because for this one, you can only do mirroring, but any M version iPad, you can display to a second monitor, and that really helps with having it have more of a desktop-like experience, even though Stage Manager isn't always that great, which I hope iPad OS 18 will fix next month. Now, the other time that I felt performance was an issue was editing some photos while on a trip. Some of the features in Pixelmator, which is what I use to edit photos here, started to take a little bit of time when I was running it on the 2018 iPad. Here's a comparison right here. You can see that it's going to finish on the new iPad in 24 seconds, this HDR feature to turn your photos into HDR versus a minute on the iPad Pro 2018. Now, another major upgrade factor is the display and the somewhat redesign that happened. So technically it is a redesign because it's thinner and lighter. If you look at this scale, this comparison, you can see it's quite a bit lighter, a good chunk lighter, and it's actually comparable to the iPad Air 2 in terms of weight. But this isn't really a drastic change compared to the 12.9 inch, 13 inch, whatever you want to call it. I'll call it 12.9 here. And really the biggest change is in what it lacked, which was the display. With OLED, especially this tandem OLED display, it really gave a good boost to sell the upgrade, in my opinion. I never really wanted the 12.9 13-inch because I just think it's way too big, and you have to bring a backpack when you want to bring it out versus something like a cross-shoulder bag like this one. I bought this years ago, and actually it was for way older iPads like the iPad 2, the original iPad 2 with the 30-pin connector. But you can see it fits here perfectly, decently enough at least. But the display being unchanged over the 2018 for the subsequent models was really the major put-off for upgrading when you could get actually a much better display in the 12.9 inch with the mini LED. So now, with the upgrade to the OLED display, this finally addresses that, and us 11 inchers are finally not getting shafted in this regard. And it is a really good display. Here you can see the colors are overall, I feel like they're warmer, but the color is a little better. There's, I think, a blue or greener tone on the 2018 iPad Pro. Of course, contrast ratio is also amazing. You can see in this LG HDR OLED demo the difference. However, to me, still it kind of depends on the person if this warrants an upgrade. If you're in a brightly lit room and you ask someone who doesn't really care, like my parents, then really it might not be a big of a difference, and you could use any of those LCD 11-inch iPads, M1, M2, etc. But for me, I think this is a good enough reason, and I would take this upgrade and get the newer one versus those older ones. Now, those are the major changes in my opinion, so let's go over some minor changes. First, there's the camera placement, and obviously they've changed the camera to be in the landscape position now, which is not only great for video chats, which is the main purpose for the change, but I also think it's much more usable for Face ID. It makes Face ID much more usable here, especially for someone who's right-handed. Unlocking the iPad, new one, my hands are almost always out of the way of the Face ID sensors, either in portrait or landscape mode. But on the old iPad Pro, my left hand can actually cover the Face ID sensors a lot when I'm holding it in landscape mode, and that kind of leads to frustration sometimes. Of course, the camera also got upgraded if you're coming from the 2018 to the M4 iPad. It has the new 12 megapixel front-facing ultra-wide camera that was also featured in the M2 Pro in 2022, and features center stage and such, so that is a nice upgrade there too. Audio-wise, it still has the quad speakers, and to me it does sound warmer and fuller. You can see here, I don't know, some people like to count them. There's one more speaker hole in the grills, 14 versus 13. I don't know if that affects the sound, but I'm not an audiophile, so I would say it's comparable, if not slightly better. And you can have a listen here through my camera mic. In terms of microphone, we're actually losing a mic. It's 4 studio microphones versus 5 microphones, not studio level, whatever that means. I think again the mic is a little better, if not comparable. It picks up a little more bass in the voice, it seems, but here you can have a listen as well. Testing. I am testing the 2018 iPad Pro 5 microphones. This is recording around 10 inches or around 30 centimeters away. And I'm going to test this against the iPad Pro M4s for studio grade microphones, whatever that means. Testing. I am testing the iPad Pro M4's 4 studio microphones about 10 inches or around 30 centimeters away from the iPad, and I'm going to compare this with the 2018 iPad, which has 5 microphones that aren't studio. Now, camera-wise, if you're coming from the 2018 to the 2024 M4 iPad Pro, we don't gain or lose anything. If you were on a 2020 or later, yes, you do lose that ultra wide, but not for us. So I'm fine with it. I didn't use it to like everybody else. I don't use it to take photos, just mainly scan documents and such. So that's fine as well. I am a little surprised they took it out though, because I thought they would be keeping it so people can record spatial video. Something they've pushed with the iPhone 15 Pro, so you can watch it on your Vision Pro, but looks like they took it out altogether, so a little weird. Not sure why. Just use your iPhone, I guess. A final design point is that I think, like the MacBook Pro, Space Black isn't really black. It's just a darker space gray. You can see on the different light colors here, it is darker. I guess if they use any darker shade, we'll get even more fingerprints. So let's just call it Space Dark Gray compared to the 2018 Space Gray. Now let's talk about accessories. I didn't get a Magic Keyboard because I'd rather not pay the amount of a 10th gen iPad to get a keyboard accessory, but I know people love it and they use it often, so that would work for them. For me, I just have a separate Bluetooth keyboard. This is the Logitech K380, and it works just fine with Bluetooth, so I'll keep using that. But I did get the new Smart Folio, which, because I had the old Smart Folio, I was really excited to see this one being updated to allow it to have multiple different angles. That is a blessing and a curse, because with the different magnet placements and the different angles, it's a little different. Now, the first angle here, I think it's practically useless. It's way too straight and upright, so that you'd really have to have it on an eye-level shelf for it to make any sense at all. The old Folio angle is actually the last angle on this new Folio, and that makes it a little cumbersome to get used to, because on the old one, I could just flip it, put it down, and it's ready. On the new one, I have to flip it and kind of adjust it a little bit to get it to the right spot, to that last spot, and then put it down. Now, maybe I can get it on the first try with a little bit of practice, but it is something I would need to get used to, and so far right now, I'm not getting used to it, so it kind of sucks. And these angles technically can work with it facing with the iPad lying down. So artists and pencil users, you have multiple angles, which is pretty good. Finally, for accessories, let's talk about the Apple Pencil Pro. I like the haptics and the squeeze functionality. I think this iPad Pencil Pro really almost essentially acts as a haptic engine for your iPad, like the iPhone's haptic engine, because it's not really just squeezing that has that haptic feedback. Overall, general OS usage has that too. So for example, if you long press on a link or the app icons to get, it's not 3D touch, what is it called? Haptic touch? I forget. It's just long press. It also triggers it. And so overall, it gives iPad OS navigation some tactile feedback and tactility, which is quite nice. As for the all-new features like barrel roll, I haven't really gotten used to it because it's not supported yet in apps like Procreate. Really, you can just test it in Notes and Freeform, etc. Anything that Apple has already updated. So probably will get better, but I haven't tested yet. So you likely want to go to an art channel and look at their reviews on that. So should you upgrade to the M4 iPad Pro? I think that really is a decision based on the person itself. Do the new features like the display, like a little bit thinner, lighter, etc., and the extra performance matter to you? So far, for me, I think it is a decent enough upgrade. I've been looking at older iPads, wanting to upgrade because of some of the performance and other things as well, and I didn't find it necessary then, but I think this was a good one. This moved the needle far enough for me to upgrade, even though iPad OS is still kind of hampered. I don't think so, because I don't use this as my computer replacement. Rather, I use it as a daily computing device. that the impairment that iPadOS gives isn't something that affects me too much. Hopefully, maybe iPadOS 18 will change that, but right now, I think as it is, I'm happy with this upgrade, and it's up to you if you think you can retire your trusty 2018 one. All right, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.